The manga series Initial D is a titan in the cars drive down mountain passes while also defying the laws of suspension genre. With the first volumes released in 1995, it grew in popularity and skyrocketed with the anime airing in 1998. The point I'm trying to make here is that the series was incredibly successful in Japan and across the world, and when a series is successful, what do? You make video games, of course. And that's exactly what Sega did in the arcades with the Initial D Arcade Stage series of games that are still getting entries to this day. But outside of those games, there were ports and original games released for home and handheld consoles, and let's take a look at them and see if they're a clean drive to success or a crash and burn on the third hairpin. Let's start with the arcade ports. The first game to make the jump was Initial D Arcade Stage 2, which came to the PlayStation 2 in 2003 as Initial D Special Stage. It's got a few different story paths following either Takumi Fujiwara, the racing team the Red Suns, and the combination team Project D as they do their thing and drive really fast. This port had downgraded graphics compared to the arcade original, but is actually a pretty decent way to experience Arcade Stage 2. Next up on the chopping block is Initial D Street Stage, a PlayStation Portable game based off of Arcade Stage 3. It's a very close port content-wise with a few cut tracks, namely the snow variant of Akina Pass. But aside for some pretty heavy graphical downgrades, I mean it was the PSP, what were you gonna do? It's a pretty decent port of the game. And finally, we have Extreme Stage, a PlayStation 3 version of Arcade Stage 4, the best one. It featured online play, and since it was on the PlayStation 3, looks near identical to Arcade Stage 4 graphically. It's worth mentioning the game's actually not region-locked and can be imported for around $50 on eBay. No, this isn't a joke. Initial D got a game on Game Boy. It was called Initial D Gaiden and was actually the first game based off of the manga/anime. It released in 1998 and followed 4 characters. Itsuki, the worst character, Takumi, the main protagonist, Mogi, the love interest, and Bunta, the father character. And it's actually not that bad. The game plays pretty well and actually handles better than some of the other games on this video. It's entirely in Japanese, so I don't understand what the characters are saying, but I imagine it's just you racing people and them talking about how cars are cool. The game's biggest problem is its audioscape. Just listen to this. Yeah, there's no music in the races. It's just bleeps, bloops, and related jargon. The game's actually pretty good, but I don't know if I'd really recommend playing it. It's a fine experience if you're drunk on a Friday night, I guess. And while we're on the topic of things I don't recommend you touch, Initial D on Sega Saturn. This 1998 Saturn game is actually like the worst racing game I've ever played. You can't see 5 feet in front of you, the steering is incredibly unresponsive, and the graphics are unnotable at best. It's got a few different modes, and the first of which, and the most notable, is Scenario Mode. It's got a small plot with some of the more important characters from the manga, and it actually has some pretty decent looking cutscenes. I mean, they're just sprites being animated on a plane, but to be honest, that's fine, I guess. They're better than the racing segments, and I don't know if the Saturn emulator I was using was broken, but there's no music in the races or menus, and all you really hear are the car noises. The next few modes are pretty self-explanatory. There's a time trial mode, which sees just how bad you can do while racing on the tracks in-game, a battle mode, which lets you race another computer-controlled character, and a drift challenge mode, which, I hope you get the point of that. It's really bad. Don't touch it. Run away. If someone brings this close to you, you might contract, you'll contract bad game syndrome. It's a very fatal disease. So Initial D Another Stage on the Game Boy Advance actually took me by surprise. If you look at screenshots from the game, you'd assume it's a 3D racing game similar to the Saturn game and the PlayStation 1 game. But it's not. It's actually more of a visual novel-styled game with race sequences consisting of dialogue options. The game begins with a plot summary of what you do for your family business. It's basically a carbon copy of what Takumi does for the tofu shop his dad runs in the actual source material. But since this is a visual novel game, you are in the shoes of the tofu delivery boy himself. The basic summary is that you're a tofu delivery boy for your family's tofu shop, and you don't like driving much. The game then lets you choose your name, and you're off to work at your part-9 gas station job where characters talk to you in Japanese, and you don't understand any of it because you don't know anything about the language. As far as I can tell, it was basically, cars are so cool, let's go race at Akana after work. But since I don't know much Japanese, I have no idea if this is actually accurate. Either way, the game's unique race sequences begin, and they seem like they'd be really fun if you understood the language the QuickTime event choices were in. I was just choosing random options and ended up using the race in the footage you're seeing right now. I looked for an English translation, and I couldn't actually find anything. The files exist, and I'll put these said files in the description, so if you know Japanese and want to actually make this, be my guest, I'd totally play it. It's actually a really fun game if you understand what it's saying. I would love to try it at some point. And in a complete turn of events, the PlayStation 1 version of Initial D is a much better game. It opens with an awesome and radical 90s CGI cutscene with some subpar music that isn't anywhere close to the Eurobeat bops the anime popularized, but it does get the general atmosphere across, and I actually kinda like it. The game has a similar selection of modes to Saturn, and there's a story mode, and it takes you through some of the general events of the manga, and it has some of the worst character CGI I think I've ever seen. Takumi genuinely looks nothing like his anime or manga appearances, and Itsuki gives me nightmares. But the saving grace of Initial D on PS1 is definitely not the CGI cutscenes. It's actually got some of the best racing gameplay in the entire list here. It's got 3 camera angles, a wide-out chase shot, a close chase, and a hood view. All of these are surprisingly playable, and the game in general has much better draw distance, handling, and lighting. I was able to pull off quite a few more drifts when compared to the Saturn version, and it's just such a better game. The big problem is that the game has a bit of a lacking music selection. It feels like they're looping the same track a lot of the time, and you can tell when it loops. But it is a PlayStation 1 game, so I figure it's kinda to be expected. There's a free running mode, which is your time trial, and, you know, you choose your car, choose your course, and you do the fastest lap you can. Practice doesn't clock your time, but outside of that, it's free running again. It's actually a really great game. If you can find it, I'd totally recommend playing it. It's a great time. Yeah, Initial D got 2 typing games on PC and PlayStation 2 in Japan. I was only able to find footage of the first, courtesy of Reddit user LilyLola123, and if you want to check out their footage, the video is linked in the description. It's a pretty simple typing tutor, I don't know what you expected. The game's battle mode plays a video of one of the races from the first season, and when you take on a corner, you're given words to type. There's a health bar that you need to keep mind of while typing, as if you take too long or mess up too much, you'll crash into the guardrail. Hardly any footage of this game exists, although Clint from Lazy Game Reviews got a hold of a copy and demonstrated the PC version of this game. That video will be linked in the description as well. Oh yeah, fun fact, this is like the only game on this list outside the arcade games that has Eurobeat, and I guess that's fucking neat. And that's it. That's the vast majority of the Initial D games released, and while a few of them were good, others were Initial D on Sega Saturn. I really appreciate you guys sticking through the end of this video. Oh no. Oh no, oh god, no. I forgot about Initial D Mountain Vengeance! Where do I begin with this thing? It was a budget game made by ValueSoft on PC. It was released in 2004, and it follows the Tokyo Pop variation of Initial D, which, you know, changes the characters' names, has no Eurobeat. And I think it's probably the best of the worst racing games I've ever played. It has some of the worst controls, mechanics, and music. It's got one song, man! But it's fucking hilarious. This game is on the same level as Big Rigs, being a horrible game in like every way, but it's like the best game to play with a solid few drinks and a couple of friends. This game has such great features like rubber banding AI that flings itself so far ahead you'll never win. A single track of music. Skyboxes you can easily fuck with to your heart's content. A single track of music. Shitty models. Did I mention it as one piece of music? This game is great. I mean, it supports racing wheels, and I've tried it, and it is terrible. Either way, man, this game is so fun to nitpick and laugh at, and it's a game you should go out, find a copy. It's cheap as hell. Play it. It's hilarious. I love it. Thank you so much for watching to the end. This has just kind of been a pet project I've been working on for a while, and if you liked it, let me know, and I'll do more kind of documentary-style videos like this. I mean, I could talk about stuff people have already talked about, like I could talk about Tokyo popped up and shit. I mean, just let me know what you guys want to see. I'll do it. This was just kind of something I've been working on, just out of sheer boredom, to be honest, and I just wanted to look at some of the weird, unique, and weird bad games in this series. I think I was scrolling through some articles and I just found these games named and I'm like, I need to play these, and I did, and I was like, why not make a video out of it, because I couldn't really find any real footage. So dude, just play these games, find copies, pirate them, do whatever you will, man. These games are, some of these are great to experience, others are Initial D on Sega Saturn. Either way, yeah, it's great. And, yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good one.